Welcome back. Today we retrofit the Squareback for side markers and fat trim. Let's get started. I just want to let you know that if this car was a pristine stock example, I probably wouldn't be doing the retrofit, but because it was totaled and so far gone when I first got the car, I'm happy to do the retrofit because I think it's going to look so much better. Whoever owned these fenders before me drilled holes for wide trim, but they placed them all too low, and the holes are also really crooked. When you get up close, you can see that it's not placed correctly. So I'm going to come through and sort this out. Last night I made this scribe. It's going to ride along this body edge, and hopefully it'll help me put these trim holes in the right spot. Problem is the edge isn't perfectly flat, so this thing kind of as you can see, this thing kind of wobbles around a little bit, so it'll be a good starting point. I think after I scribe the line, I'll still need to come through and measure and just double check that everything's in the right spot. Let's try it out. Yeah, buddy. Alright, the other scribe sucked and was rocking around a bunch, so I made a better one out of just a paint stick and a piece of metal, and it's way more stable. It's gonna work a lot better. Let's get to work. So I just did the test fit with this old aluminum trim that I had laying around, and it looks really good as far as I can tell. Next I want to do an entire side and get the new trim up. I got the new stainless trim from ISP West. Anyways, let's continue around the car and get all the new trim test fit. Trim looks awesome. I'm really happy with it. I just did a test fit, and as far as I can tell so far, it looks really good. I haven't done final fitment yet on the panels, but we'll be doing that soon. But I'm really happy with it for now. I'm gonna knock out the other side, and then we'll do the side markers. Trim is hung. It looks really good. I'm happy with it. Next I need to move on to doing the side markers. The side markers are a little bit tricky. It seems really simple, but basically I need to drill the holes for it to mount in, and then I also need to cut a little hole for the base of the side marker to go through. And I pulled some measurements off the Samba. I'll include that in the description. The measurements are in metric, which is like not that big of a deal, right? Except I realized I didn't have a metric ruler in my garage, so I had to go through my old office supply stuff, and I finally found this ancient, halfway broken plastic ruler that does have metric reading on it. So this will work, this will do the trick. So basically I need to transfer these measurements onto the fender, drill some holes, and make a cut, and then we can mount up the side marker. Another thing, the measurements are based off of the trim holes that are on the fender, except when I went to go check my trim holes, they're not consistent, like they're at different distances, and they're not lining up with what the measurements say they should be. I'm assuming either one of these trim holes is not original, or the factory, the factory doesn't do things perfectly, so it could have just been done differently at the factory. Basically, long story short, I'm going to weld shut the trim holes, make my measurements, and then drill new trim holes at the correct size for the sheet metal screws I'm going to use, and then we can get these guys going. Anyways, that was a lot of talking for a little bit of work. Let's get to it. The side marker in the trim looks really good. I'm happy with it. There's a little bit of wiggle room if I need to make an adjustment, but so far it looks really good. I do still need to set the panel gaps, so I'll keep my fingers crossed that we're all right, but I'm really happy with it. I really like the look of these. The Euro models got all the cool features. We didn't get these in the US, but it's also like a safety upgrade too, honestly. It helps people see your car at night when it's parked, or you can wire them as blinkers, which I'm probably gonna do that because I think the side markers as a parking light are a good idea, but I'll probably get more use out of it as a blinker, or I don't know, maybe I can wire up as both. Anyways, they look good. I'm happy with it. I'm gonna do the other side the exact same way I did this side. I don't think you need to see it twice, but I mean, let me know if you wanted to see it twice. Looks great, I'm stoked. Before we wrap up for the day, I just want to talk about the roof clip. I picked it up roughly 2 weeks ago, and it was a mission to get this thing, but I was able to figure out a way to safely pick it up. And it's just chilling on my side yard right now. It looks really good, but it was honestly a little bit rustier on the inside than I anticipated. But that goes without saying. I think just in general, anytime you're buying an old used car panel, it's going to be a little bit worse than you originally thought it was or hoped it was. I don't know if I can get to it. I want to try to show it to you right now, but up in here it's a little bit crusty, which has got me worried a little bit, honestly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip it down as much as I can by myself, and then I'm going to take it to the media blaster and have them finish it off. Hopefully it comes back not looking like Swiss cheese, and I can still use it. I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed. I don't want to put my money on either way. In addition to that, I'm figuring out how exactly I'm going to do the graft. Most people just chop it off at the pillar and weld it right there because it's less welding than doing it other ways. But I've seen people do this on a notchback and on a fastback. They actually separate the drip rail, drill out the spot welds, and then do it the way it would have been done at the factory, which is pretty cool. It's arguably a cleaner way of doing it, but it's a lot of work. And the squareback roof is huge, so it's not twice as much work as a notchback, but squareback roof is massive. The drip rail goes all the way around. I don't know, I'm gonna test it out on my car, because if I mess it up, it needs to be replaced anyways. I won't test that out on here. If it's easy enough to separate this drip rail and drill out the spot welds, I think it would be cool to do it that way, because I'm a fan of doing replacements the way the factory's done it, if I can do it. When I did my inner and outer rear aprons, I thought it would have been really cool to spot weld it the way the factory did it. Anyways, either way is totally fine. I'll try to do it at the drip rail, but if not, I'll chop it off at the pillars like everyone else does. Hey, I just wanted to say that I enjoyed reading your guys' comments in the last video. A lot of you guys are working on squarebacks and different Type 3s at home, and that's super rad. One thing I want to say is I'm just figuring this stuff out in my garage just like most of you. I had a really good comment from Instagram user GripDog. I think his YouTube handle is the same name. He messaged me and mentioned that he had a really good trick for doing weld nuts. He said you can actually get a washer and then make a weld nut with that, and then get a drill bit the same size and drill out the bad area and then weld that washer right in there, so it's like super easy. That would have been so much easier than making these square weld nuts. You know, you live and learn. I want to remember that trick for next time that I have to do that, because I think that would be so much faster than doing it this way. So if you did watch the last video, just note that there's a faster way of doing that. And thank you, GripDog. He is actually making a really rad Type 3 in his garage that I believe is turbocharged, if I'm not mistaken. And you can check him out. He's on Instagram as well. Always feel free to drop a comment. I enjoy chatting with you guys, and hopefully everyone's getting inspired to work on their builds at home as well. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to follow the build and get some motivation for your own projects. As always, I believe in you. Get to wrenching. Peace.